Welcome to Reddit Confessions.
I never thought a birthday gift could blow my marriage to pieces. The sleek black box sat on the table, wrapped in silver paper, tied with a bow so perfect it could have come straight off one of Jessica's Pinterest boards. She slid it toward me with that smile, the one she used in front of friends, when appearances mattered more than honesty. Happy 38, babe. Her voice was velvet, smooth enough to fool anyone at the table. I peeled back the wrapping. Inside, a brand new Apple Watch. Expensive, top of the line, the kind I'd never splurge on myself. You're always saying you want to get healthier, track your sleep, she said, eyes gleaming like she was already posting the moment to Instagram. Now you've got no excuses. I forced a chuckle. Guess you're right. She leaned in, kissed my cheek. To everyone else in the room, Brandon and Emily chatting by the fireplace, Tyler cracking jokes near the wine rack. It was the perfect wife moment. But I knew Jessica. Every gift came with strings attached, with meaning beyond the shiny surface. Still, I strapped it on. It buzzed as soon as it synced to my phone. A preview lit up on the tiny screen, an incoming message. At first, I barely registered it. Just another notification. But then I read the words. Can't wait to taste you again tonight, face blowing a kiss. The room blurred. My mother-in-law was laughing about something. Amanda was pouring wine. Jessica was adjusting the charcuterie board from Trader Joe's. No one else noticed me go still. The message wasn't from me. I tapped the watch again. Another preview flashed. A photo. A half-naked selfie of a man. Taken that morning, sunlight still on his chest. My stomach dropped. My pulse roared in my ears. I turned my wrist slightly, angling it away so no one could see. My fingers shook, but I swiped, opening the thread. The messages weren't just flirty, they were filthy, intimate, familiar. Like two people who'd been living in a world I hadn't been invited to. A year's worth of them, synced straight from her iCloud. Michael. Jessica's voice cut through my trance. She was watching me, head tilted, glass of Pinot in hand. You okay? I looked at her. At the woman I'd married. The woman who'd planned this party, invited our friends, picked out my gift like she was the perfect wife. My throat felt dry. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile. Just figuring out how this thing works. She laughed lightly, already turning back to her guests. But I wasn't laughing. I wasn't breathing. I stared at that tiny glowing screen, my entire world collapsing in front of a room full of people who thought we were the perfect couple. And that's when it hit me. The gift Jessica gave me for my birthday was the very thing that would destroy her. I tapped the screen again. Another message popped up. Hotels booked. Same room. Same time. The reservation was for tonight. The more I tapped, the more my life fell apart. Every flick of my finger revealed another piece of the puzzle, another dagger driven straight into my chest. Jessica's iCloud was wide open, every filthy secret laid bare on my brand new watch. Photos. Dozens of them. Her in lingerie I'd never seen. Him, shirtless, his tattoos like signatures marking every image. Screenshots of hotel confirmations. Uber rides at midnight. And then the voice messages. I pressed one. Her voice spilled out in a whisper so intimate it made my skin crawl. God, Chase. I can't stop thinking about last night. The way you. I yanked my wrist back, slamming the screen dark before anyone noticed. My heart was pounding so hard I thought the whole room could hear it. Chase. The name rang in my head like an alarm bell. Chase Rivera, 26, one of her assistants. I'd seen him at her office once. Cocky smile, messy hair, shirt unbuttoned one too far. I'd pegged him for a joke. A wannabe. Turns out, he was the joke, and I was the punchline. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, hands clammy. A flood of notifications poured in as the watch synced fully. Emails, calendar invites, even her hidden photo albums. Jessica must have linked my gift to her account by accident, never realizing she'd handed me the keys to her double life. Michael. Amanda's voice snapped me back. My sister stood by the wine rack, eyebrows pinched. She had that lawyer's radar for bullshit, and she was reading my face like an open file. You look pale, she said quietly, just for me. I'm fine. My voice cracked. Just tired. She didn't look convinced. Meanwhile, Jessica floated around the room, topping off glasses, basking in the glow of her own performance. To everyone else, she was the devoted wife throwing her husband a flawless birthday dinner. But I knew better. I scrolled faster, devouring every lie. Messages about mornings she was in meetings, but really in hotel rooms. Nights she claimed she was too tired when she'd already been drained by someone else. 12 months. At least. A year of my life stolen. My hand tightened around the phone until my knuckles went white. I wanted to stand up, flip the table, scream the truth into her perfectly made-up face. But then I caught my reflection in the dark window. Quiet, steady Michael Miller. The one nobody ever saw coming. And that's when the rage cooled into something sharper. Something cleaner. I wasn't going to blow up tonight. Not yet. No. I'd give her exactly what she'd given me. A performance. I slipped the phone into my pocket and forced a smile. Dinner was great, I said to the table, lifting my glass. Really thoughtful. Jessica beamed, clueless. Inside, my mind was already rearranging itself. Calculating. Planning. Dinner was in 3 hours. And I already knew how the night was going to end. I smiled at her across the table. I made you something too, I said, pulling out the reservation confirmation I'd booked seconds ago. I kissed her on the cheek like nothing was wrong. The restaurant was one of those upscale spots Jessica loved. White tablecloths, dim lighting, the kind of place where everyone pretends their lives are perfect. She had booked a long table for family and friends. At the center of it all, she glowed like a queen, basking in the compliments about how thoughtful she was to plan the whole thing. I sat at her side, smiling, nodding, lifting my glass when expected. On the surface, I was the quiet, grateful husband. Time she laughed. I heard the way she moaned his name in those voice notes. Amanda sat across from me, eyes narrowed. She knew something was off. She'd always been able to read me, even when I didn't want her to. But she stayed silent, watching, waiting. The waiter poured more wine. The chatter rose and fell around me like static. Jessica leaned in, whispering just loud enough for me to hear. You really like the watch, right? I looked at her. At the woman who had built an entire second life in secret, who had brought me here to play the fool in front of everyone I loved. It's perfect, I said. Her smile widened. She kissed my cheek again, convinced she was winning. But I wasn't the fool tonight. When the entrees cleared, Jessica clinked her glass and stood, thanking everyone for coming. She told a rehearsed story about how she'd planned the evening, about how much I meant to her. People smiled, applauded politely. And when she sat back down, I cleared my throat. I made you something too, I said. The table turned to me, surprised. I reached into my bag and pulled out a wrapped package, sliding it across to her. Her eyes sparkled. She loved being the center of attention, loved the idea that she'd inspired me to put thought into something for her. She peeled the paper back, giggling softly. What is it? She asked. A photo album, I said. My voice was steady, calm, deadly calm. She opened it. The first page was a glossy printout of a text message. You were insatiable last night, smiling face with horns, can't wait for round 2. Her hand froze on the page. People craned their necks. Amanda leaned forward. My mother-in-law blinked in confusion. It's Jessica stammered, flipping the page. The next was a hotel receipt. Then another. Then a photo of her and Chase, tangled in sheets. Gasps rippled down the table. I folded my hands neatly in my lap. A year in review, I explained softly. All the memories you didn't think I knew about. Her face drained of color. And then I said, you might want to skip ahead to page 17. Page after page, the truth stared back at her. Her fingers shook as she flipped through the album. Texts, selfies, hotel invoices. Every secret she thought was buried now printed on thick photo paper for the entire table to see. What is this? She whispered. It's a timeline, I said. My voice carried easily across the table. A curated year of your life. I wanted everyone to see what you've been so busy with. The silence was suffocating. Forks hung frozen halfway to mouths. Glasses stood untouched. My mother's hand hovered near her chest, trembling. Jessica's eyes darted around the table, desperate for an ally. She forced a laugh, brittle and cracked. Michael, this isn't funny. Keep turning, I said. She flipped another page. Another text. Another hotel photo. Another image of her body, barely covered, grinning into Chase's phone camera. Someone at the far end of the table muttered, "Oh my God." Amanda leaned forward, phone angled under the table, recording. "You bastard." Jessica hissed at me, her voice low but sharp. "No," I said. I was the idiot. But not anymore. Her hands trembled violently now. She skipped ahead, flipping until she landed on page 17. And that's when her face collapsed. It was an audio module embedded into the page. One-Eyed had custom built. A tiny speaker activated when pressed. Chase's voice filled the restaurant, rich and smug. "Say my name." And then Jessica's voice, moaning, breathless. "Chase, oh God, Chase." The sound echoed through the dining room. Gasps. A stifled scream. The clatter of silverware hitting plates. I just sat there, watching her unravel. The table went silent before the first scream. Every fork, every knife, every wine glass hung in midair like time itself had frozen. The only sound was Jessica's voice echoing from the album speaker, moaning Chase's name over and over. Her mother gasped, slapping a trembling hand across her mouth. A cousin dropped his glass, red wine bleeding across the white linen like spilled blood. And then the whispers started. "Is that really her? Jesus Christ. Who's Chase?" Her boss, Mr. Dalton, shifted in his seat, face red with fury. His eyes locked on Jessica like a spotlight. "Is that my assistant?" he muttered. Jessica snapped the album shut so hard the table rattled. This is fake." She screamed, her voice breaking. He's trying to humiliate me." I leaned back in my chair, calm, almost serene. "That's your voice. Those are your photos. The timestamps don't lie." "Michael, please." Her eyes darted to her mother, then to Amanda, then to me. "We can talk about this at home." "No," I said, my voice sharp enough to slice through the air. "We talk about it here. Tonight. In front of everyone you've been lying to." Amanda's phone was angled higher now, recording everything in crystal clarity. My sister caught my eye across the table, a flicker of approval crossing her face. "You've been cheating on me for over a year," I continued, my voice steady, deliberate. "And you thought you could hide it forever. But here's the truth, served with dinner." Aunt Margaret let out a shocked sob. Someone whispered, "Poor Michael." Jessica's eyes were wide and wet, mascara already smudging. She was gasping, searching for oxygen in a room that no longer believed her. And then her boss stood, voice booming. "You've been sleeping with one of my employees?" Jessica's face collapsed completely, and before she could answer, I raised my glass and said, "Why stop at one surprise tonight?" I raised my glass slowly, like a conductor calling for silence. And silence came. Every face at that table was locked on me. Some horrified, some pitying, some frozen in disbelief. Jessica sat across from me, shoulders shaking, mascara streaking down her face. She looked small, shattered. "Tonight," I began, my voice cutting through the tension like a blade, "was supposed to be about celebration. A birthday, a family dinner, a wife's thoughtful surprise." I let my eyes linger on her. But sometimes surprises don't go as planned. Sometimes the truth has its own timing. Amanda's phone was still angled up, recording. She knew exactly what I was doing. I lifted my glass higher. "So here's to truth. And to timing. May we all be grateful when both finally show up." The clink of my glass against the crystal was the only sound in the room. No one else dared to raise theirs. Jessica buried her face in her hands, muffling a sob. Her boss spoke again, voice cold as steel. "Jessica, we'll be speaking Monday morning. In fact, don't bother coming in." She whimpered. "Please no." The waiter appeared at the edge of the table, frozen mid-step, holding a tray of desserts that suddenly looked absurdly out of place. I turned back to Jessica. Calm. Measured. "You think this is bad?" I said softly, my words dropping like stones into the silence. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with terror. "You should probably check your inbox." I tilted my glass toward her boss. "Because I sent him something, too." Her phone buzzed before the waiter could set down the creme brulee. Jessica snatched it from the table, hands trembling. The screen lit up with a new notification. I didn't need to see it. I knew exactly what it was. Mr. Dalton's phone buzzed at the same time. He pulled it from his jacket pocket, squinting at the screen. His lips moved as he read the subject line aloud. "Effective immediately." His eyes narrowed. Jessica's fork clattered onto the table. "Michael, what did you do?" I leaned back in my chair, my voice calm. "Just scheduled a little note to the board. A full account of your extracurricular activities. Hotel receipts, photos, audio clips. Your affair with your assistant documented in detail." Her face went white, then red, then a mottled shade of panic. You can't." "Oh, but I can," I cut in. "You see, I'm not just your husband, Jessica. I'm a software engineer. Automation is kind of my thing. That email went out the second you pressed play on page 17. Mr. Dalton scrolled furiously, his jaw tightening with each line. Unbelievable, he muttered. You've embarrassed this entire company. And in front of clients, no less. You're finished, Jessica. You and Rivera both. Gasps rippled around the table. Jessica gripped the edge of the tablecloth, her knuckles bone white. Please, we can fix this. Amanda's voice cut across hers. Fix it. Jessica, this is scorched earth. I raised my wineglass again, watching her unravel. To fresh starts, I said quietly. Jessica's phone buzzed again. Another email. She stared down at it like it was a death sentence. Her lips trembled as she whispered, No, 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 no. Because this time, the subject line read, Termination of contract, effective immediately. She chased me out in heels, mascara streaking like war paint down her cheeks. The night air was sharp, cool, and almost peaceful compared to the wreckage I'd left behind inside that restaurant. Behind me, muffled voices rose, the buzz of scandal spreading like wildfire. Phones snapping, whispers multiplying. Michael, wait. Her voice cracked as she stumbled on the sidewalk, clutching at her dress like it could hold her together. She caught up to me just as I unlocked the car. Please don't do this, she begged, grabbing my arm. Her nails dug into my sleeve. We can fix it. I'll quit my job. I'll cut him off. Just don't leave me like this. I turned to face her. The woman who had sworn vows to me. The woman who had made me the butt of a year-long joke. You don't get it, I said quietly. It's already done. Her tears streaked her skin, desperate, ugly. I made a mistake. No, I cut in. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinner. This was a choice. Over and over again. Her grip tightened. Michael, please. Don't ruin everything. I pried her hand from my arm. Calm. Cold. Controlled. You already ruined everything, I said. I'm just cleaning up the mess. She sobbed, crumpling to the pavement in her designer heels. A perfect picture of collapse. I opened the car door, leaned down, and gave her the only parting gift she'd ever get from me. You can keep the house, I said flatly. I'll take the dog. And my dignity. Her mouth fell open in shock, but no words came out. Just a strangled sob. I slid into the car, started the engine, and pulled away. In the rearview mirror, Jessica's figure grew smaller, a broken silhouette under the glow of the restaurant's lights. And that's when I saw him. Chase, stumbling into the parking lot, drunk and 10 minutes too late. He showed up reeking of whiskey and cologne, swaggering into the parking lot like he was late to his own concert. Michael, he slurred, stumbling toward my car. His shirt was half unbuttoned, his hair wild. Wait up, man, we need to talk. I killed the engine and stepped out, shutting the door behind me with deliberate calm. Talk. My voice was flat. You've had a year to say something. You chose my wife's bed instead. Chase grinned, but it was shaky, the bravado already cracking. Look, bro, it's not what you think. Don't call me bro. He flinched. Behind him, Jessica was still on her knees, mascara streaking down her face. She reached for him like he was her lifeline, but he didn't even glance her way. You really thought she'd leave me for you? I asked. His smile faltered. He shoved his hands into his pockets, shifting like a kid caught stealing. She said she was unhappy, man. That you were boring. That you didn't, take care of her. I stepped closer, my voice dropping low. And you believed her? His eyes darted toward Jessica, who was sobbing quietly behind him. Then back to me. I love her, he said finally, the words slurred but defiant. I almost laughed. You love her? You're just the after-hours entertainment. And now? You're unemployed, too. His face twisted. What the hell does that mean? I leaned in close enough for him to smell the smoke of my calm fury. Check your inbox, Chase. You're famous now. Because in that moment, his phone buzzed, and the subject line read, HR investigation, immediate action required. By Monday, her phone was a graveyard of unanswered calls. I didn't have to wonder. I knew exactly what was happening. Friends she thought were loyal had stopped replying. Group chats went silent. Her colleagues, the ones she'd bragged to about work trips, had ghosted her completely. Even her mother wasn't picking up anymore. I heard about it through Amanda, who couldn't resist updating me with a smirk. She's toxic now, my sister said. Nobody wants to be seen with her. Reputation's radioactive. You did that. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The first real crack came when I checked her Instagram. The account she lived and breathed for. The altar where she built her perfect life. And there it was, her face plastered across gossip pages. Screenshots of the album. Voice recordings uploaded. Headlines swirling. Denver event planner exposed in affair scandal. The comments were brutal. Thousands of them. Homewrecker. Poor Michael. He deserves better. Imagine risking your whole career for a DJ with no future. She tried to post a story, a picture of coffee, captioned, "New beginning sparkles." The replies shredded her. People dug up old posts, comparing them to the receipts I'd exposed. Mindful marriage tips now sat next to screenshots of her texts to Chase. Her following dropped by the hour. By evening, someone had even made a meme account at Lying Jessica. Tens of thousands of followers in less than a day. Every post was a side-by-side of her fake Instagram life and the affair receipts. Amanda sent me one with a laugh. She's trending. For all the wrong reasons. I poured myself a quiet drink in my new, half-empty house. No rage this time. Just silence. And somewhere across town, Chase's phone buzzed with a text from a club owner. "We don't book homewreckers. Your gig's canceled." Even DJs have reputations to protect. Denver's nightlife scene wasn't big. Word spread faster than bass through a cheap speaker. Within days, Chase Rivera went from local flavor to untouchable. Clubs canceled him first. "We don't book homewreckers," one owner told him flat out. And I know because Amanda had a friend in the room when it happened. His face had gone pale. His swagger gone. Then the bars followed. Suddenly, nobody wanted his playlists, his cheap charisma, his late-night sets. The promoters who used to text him for after-parties were leaving him on read. Amanda showed me screenshots of him ranting in a Facebook group. "This is all lies. People are jealous. I didn't do anything wrong." But the comments shredded him. "You banged your boss while she was married. Own it. Bro, you torched your career for clout you never had. Pathetic." I pictured him pacing his tiny apartment, scrolling furiously, watching the gigs vanish from his calendar one by one. The boy who thought he was a star, suddenly just another loser with a cheap soundboard and no future. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. But I slept better that night. Because the next morning, Amanda slid a folder across my kitchen table. Inside, the divorce papers. "And this time," she said, "we're delivering them with black roses." The bouquet arrived before noon. Black roses, a statement, not a gesture. I had them delivered to her office, though by then she didn't really have an office anymore. Still, the timing was poetic. Tucked inside the vase was the envelope. Thick, heavy, final. Divorce papers. Amanda had drafted them with her usual precision. Every clause airtight, every loophole sealed. She placed them on the table between us as we sat in her downtown office. "Sign here, here, and here," she instructed. "This isn't a negotiation, Michael. This is extraction." I nodded, pen in hand. My signature flowed smooth, like I'd been practicing for months. Maybe I had in my head. Across town, Jessica received her own copy. She called within minutes, her voice ragged, frantic. "Michael, please, don't do this," she begged. We can fix it. I'll go to therapy. I'll quit drinking. This isn't about therapy," I interrupted. "This is about choices. Yours. And mine." She started crying. Loud, ugly sobs that once would have torn me apart. Now they were just noise. Amanda, listening in on speaker, rolled her eyes and cut her off. "Save the performance, Jessica. We're not here to forgive. We're here to win." Jessica gasped like she'd been slapped. "Amanda, you can't." "Oh, I can," Amanda said, her voice like steel. "You broke the vows. Michael's done. And you're about to find out what a real consequence looks like." I ended the call without another word. The silence afterward felt cleaner than anything had in years. But later that night, Jessica tried one last move. A tearful Facebook video that went viral for all the wrong reasons. Her face filled my screen before I even pressed play. The video had already racked up 50,000 views by the time Amanda texted me the link. Jessica, sitting in her kitchen, no makeup, hair messy, clutching a mug like a prop. She looked like she'd studied every vulnerable influencer apology in existence. Her voice shook as she began. "I know I've made mistakes. I betrayed the most important person in my life, and I hurt so many people along the way. I want to own that. I want to be better. She paused, sniffled for effect, eyes glassy. Michael, if you're watching, I love you. I always will. I hope one day you can forgive me. I almost laughed. Forgiveness? She wanted to turn my humiliation into her redemption arc. The comments told the real story. Too late, sweetheart. She's only sorry she got caught. Maybe you should have thought of that before the hotel selfies. Some people were brutal. Others pretended to be sympathetic. But the overwhelming tide was against her. Screenshots of the album flooded the replies. Clips of the audio moan. Memes, side-by-sides, reaction gifs. Her attempt at damage control had only poured gasoline on the fire. Amanda texted again, "She's finished. Stop watching and get some sleep." But I didn't turn it off. I watched her tears, her desperate eyes, her trembling hands. Not because I cared, but because it reminded me exactly why I'd never go back. She wasn't crying for me. She was crying for herself, for her image, for the collapse of the life she'd curated so carefully online. And I realized that was the only thing she'd ever truly loved. The next morning, I stood in my new house, staring at the empty wall where our wedding photo once hung, and started planting a garden instead. I planted tomatoes where our wedding photo used to hang. The new house was smaller, quieter. No designer furniture, no curated decor. Just clean walls, sunlight through big windows, and the sound of my dog padding softly across the hardwood floors. Every morning, I took my coffee outside and knelt in the dirt. The garden grew where once there had been memories, basil, tomatoes, peppers, living things I could nurture without fear of betrayal. It was work, honest work, digging, watering, waiting. But unlike Jessica, the soil always gave back what I put into it. Amanda visited sometimes, bringing wine and sharp jokes. "You look better," she said one evening, watching me rinse soil from my hands. "Healthier, like you finally remembered how to breathe." "I think I did," I told her. And it was true. For the first time in years, the silence felt like peace instead of punishment. But peace never lasts forever. On a Tuesday afternoon, I came home from work to find an envelope on the porch. Handwritten. No return address. I brought it inside, heart pounding before I even opened it. The paper inside was thick, the handwriting familiar. "Michael, I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm trying anyway. Please read this. Please don't throw it away." I set the letter down. My hands were trembling. It was signed, in Jessica's handwriting, "Forever yours." She showed up 2 nights later, unannounced. I found her on my porch, clutching a scrapbook in her hands. Not a sleek, polished gift this time. Just a worn leather-bound book, edges frayed, pages stuffed with photos and ticket stubs. "Michael," she whispered, eyes red. "Please, just let me show you." I didn't answer. I just stepped aside, letting her inside. For once, she looked small. Not glamorous, not untouchable. Just a woman who had burned down her own life and was now sifting through the ashes. She opened the scrapbook on my kitchen table. Each page was a relic of our past. Our first trip to the mountains, the concert we went to on a whim, the photo booth strips from when we were still kids in love. "I made this for you," she said softly, touching one of the pictures with trembling fingers. "I wanted you to remember what we had, what we could still have." Her voice cracked. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I can't stop loving you. Please, please don't let this be the end." For a moment, I just stared at the book. The life we'd built, the memories we'd shared, the lies she'd buried inside them. Then I closed it. Slowly, carefully, I carried it outside to the fire pit in the yard. She followed, silent, tears streaming down her face. I struck a match, dropped it in, and watched the flames catch. The scrapbook curled and blackened, the photos twisting into smoke and ash. Jessica let out a broken sob. I didn't look at her. I just stood there, the firelight flickering against my face, feeling the last ties burn away. "Some gifts," I said quietly, "are better returned to ashes." And I walked back inside, leaving her in the dark.